Hello, this is Brad Wood, and today I want to try to do a quick as possible demo of a fairly new product out here called FusionReactor Cloud. There's so much to cover, so I'll try to kind of stick to some of these high points. I want to kind of show how quick and easy it is to use, specifically in reference to CommandBox, as well as the Ortus CommandBox-based Docker image. So most of you guys are probably familiar with FusionReactor. It's a tool for cold fusion and Java servers. Allows you to monitor your server, memory usage requests, JDBC times, the queries that are being run. Lots of cool information. It's typically an on-premise installation. You copy some jars onto your server, and then there's a little website available on a separate port that you can go to, a web-based site. So this works pretty good for a typical server installation. Maybe you have one server, maybe you have 3 servers. You have 3 different FusionReactor instances you can go to. What this doesn't work very well for is when you're deploying a lot of cold fusion servers in a cloud setting, especially if you're doing some kind of elastic based setting where you might have 10 servers one day and 15 servers the next day and 30 servers the next day, based on something like Docker Swarm. It doesn't really work well to try to manage all of those FusionReactor instances. So this is where FusionReactor Cloud comes into play. So this is a separate license you can buy from FusionReactor, and it gives you access to this nice little cloud console right here. So you can see that the URL I'm visiting is not that of any server of mine. It's app.fusionreactor.io. And so this is a centralized dashboard. I log in, and all of my servers where I've activated my specific cloud license key will automatically register themselves with this interface. And it's pretty seamless. It's pretty nice. So you can see here I don't have any servers. I deleted them all to kind of start from scratch. Here's my license key. Don't worry about trying to steal it. My trial expires in 2 days. So let's just show how quick and easy this is to get going. So I'm going to pull open CommandBox here. I'm going to grab my cfconfig server, just have one to use. The first thing I want to do is install the CommandBox FusionReactor module from ForgeBox. This is the absolute easiest way to install FusionReactor. We're done. Every server we start now in this CommandBox instance will automatically have FusionReactor activated. It really doesn't get any simpler than that. Next, I'm going to go ahead and register my license key. So I'm going to use the FR-register command, paste in my license key. You see my license key has the word cloud in it. That means that the instances of FusionReactor that start will automatically register themselves with my cloud account. Pretty cool. So we'll get start the server up real quick. Okay, our server is open. We don't actually care about this window. So if I open up the FusionReactor page, it's actually part of my local server. You can see here it has little green cloud icons, says cloud connection active. And this is really the only thing I wanted to show you in this local interface. So I don't really need to use this local server here. I can come over to my FusionReactor Cloud. Let's do a refresh and see if we can get it to pop up. There we go. So we can see that my cfconfig server has been registered automatically. Sometimes it takes a couple seconds for the graph data to start flowing through. It kind of comes up as it comes online. So we can come in and see most everything that's available from your typical FusionReactor interface. There's a live mode where we can click and see live stats as they come through for the server, which is kind of cool. Let me generate a request real quick. Just hit the home page of this little server. So there we go. We can see some requests happening, some memory changing. So live mode is pretty sweet. We can go in and we can see our request history, all the requests that are currently running, that have recently been running. You can get stack traces, of course, JDBC times if you're using a database, threads, and then of course the profiler. So there's a lot of, basically, most everything you can get to in the normal FusionReactor interface is all available on a per server basis, and the servers automatically register themselves just right here in your dashboard when they start. Another cool little thing is you can change the way these show up. They have several presets, smaller and larger. You can also click on details like heap memory, and it'll kind of drill down into some specifics, your hourly average, your minute average, and a graph down along the bottom. And there's also a live mode you can enable from here, and I believe the live mode is specific to the ultimate version of this. So it's really easy to get up and running. Obviously, this does assume that your server is running in an environment where it has the ability to phone home to the centralized FusionReactor Cloud dashboard. If I stop, oops, I'm going to spell it right. If I stop my cfconfig server, within usually just a matter of seconds, it should automatically drop off this dashboard. There we go, so no more online servers. So the cloud dashboard pretty much keeps up with what servers you have running and what servers you don't have running. The server's still out there. It's actually in an inactive state right now. It'll remember previous servers, so if it comes back online, it'll pick it up automatically. That's kind of a cool feature. So let's do this at scale now. That's kind of the simple example of how this works. Let's actually see this in an Elastic settings. So I'm going to snag our little Zen server we use over at Ortus HQ. We have a 3-node Docker swarm configured on the server, and I'm going to deploy a simple app over here on our Docker swarm. So let's bear with me. I've prepared a little bit of stuff ahead of time, so I wouldn't get too boring getting this set up. So I'm going to use our regular CommandBox, our stock CommandBox-based Docker image, and I'm just going to map in the web root to point to this folder I've already created, and this is out here on a shared file system that our Docker swarm has access to. I've thrown a ColdBox app in the root of the app. Obviously, it just doesn't have to be ColdBox. I just like to use ColdBox because it's nice. There's 3 files in here I want to show you. In my box.json, I've specified CommandBox FusionReactor as a dependency for this app to be able to run. I need that so that the CommandBox instance of my Docker image will go ahead and install this FusionReactor module, and I'm telling it just to grab the latest version. I don't really care. The second thing I'm doing is in my server.json, I've set up a few things here. Our HTTP port is going to be 8080. Remember that. We'll set that up here in a second. And then I've added a FusionReactor struct in here, and the FusionReactor module in CommandBox will automatically look for this by convention. You can group multiple servers together with an arbitrary name, so I'm telling FusionReactor Cloud to group all these servers, all these Docker images I'm going to spin up as containers in a group called Ortus Swarm. And then my license key I'm referencing as an environment variable here in my JSON configuration. This is a feature that CommandBox allows you to do, is in your server.json file you can reference environment variables. So we'll create this environment variable when we define our Docker setup. And then finally, I have a .cfconfig JSON, which just simply turns on trusted cache because that's kind of a nice thing to have on. Okay, so let's go ahead and create this service. We're using Portainer to manage our Docker swarm because that's nice. It's a pretty little interface. Everything I'm doing is doable from the command line. Okay, so port mapping. Our container port was 8080, and let's throw this onto 8057. I think that's what I've been using to test with. Yep. 8057. So let's go ahead and create the service. There's a couple more things we need to stick into it for it to work properly. We need to have some of those environment variables. Let's create that FR license environment variable. This is going to be what creates the license keys so our server.json can pick it up. And we're also going to add one more variable called box_install. And we're going to set that equal to true, and that'll run a box install in our web root prior to starting the server. And then we need to mount in that web root that I had created on our shared file system. So we'll come down to mounts, and we're going to bind this shared location on my Docker swarm into the /app folder, and that's where the web root lives on these CommandBox-based Ortus containers. So anytime you make a change in here in Portainer, it automatically redeploys your container, and I only have a single container. So you can see at the bottom it's already created it a couple times and shut it down because I keep changing the settings. So we're starting a container right now, and it looks like it's starting up on node number 3 in our swarm. So we can come in here, and here's the one that's starting, and we can actually look at the well, we can run the console, but that's not what I wanted to do. We can look at the logs, and you can see the server coming up. This is basically what you would see if you did a console start of a server. So you can see some progress as it installs and downloads things. On production, obviously, you're going to want to warm up your servers, so you're going to want to build a custom image that has all of this installation done I'm kind of doing this on the fly on top of the stock image, so this all gets built as my app comes up. So the Ortus CommandBox images do have a health check URL built in, so Docker Swarm will automatically recognize when the container has come online and begun responding to requests. And it shows that my service is online. Let's actually hit it over here. I'm just hitting any one of those 3 swarm members on that port that I mapped through to port 8080. And here we go. So here's our ColdBox site, and it's running on a Docker Swarm across a single container. So let's go look, and we can see here some new data has came into the dashboard. We have a group called Ortus Swarm, still waiting for some of the statistics to populate for it, and then it shows a single online server. This little looks like partially a GUID right here. This is the machine name on Docker Swarm. Those are basically going to be random. So now some data is coming in. So we can get stats for a specific server. For instance, this one container, it has no 0.2 requests per second over the last hour. And we can also get stats on the whole group. I only have one server in my group, but on average, my group has this many requests per second per hour. So let's scale this baby up, since that's the whole point of doing this on Docker Swarm. So let's go ahead and say I want 15 replicas. So this is going to spin up 15 additional new Docker containers using this image that I've defined, and you can see here they all are all starting right now. So let's give these just a second to start up. All right, and while we wait for these to finish coming up, let me show you real quick, in case you're wondering what other configuration options we have available. We do have a page in the docs for the FusionReactor module for CommandBox. You can set, in addition to the license key, there's a number of additional arguments, including this is that cloud group that we use. There's also some other additional things you can set as well, like obfuscating parameters on requests. So I'll put this link here in the description of the video so you can see the defaults that you can set for the FusionReactor module in CommandBox. All right, perfect. All of our Docker containers have come up and they're running. In production, obviously, you'll have compiled Docker images that'll be pre-warmed up, and these will come up really nice and fast. So whenever I hit our little sample app here, I'm basically being sort of round-robin load balanced between those 15 containers. So every time I hit refresh, I'm hitting a different container here. So let's throw some load at this to have some fun with it. I'm SSH'd here into one of our servers on the Ortus HQ network, and I'm going to run an Apache Bench command against this. Don't worry too much about what this command does. Basically, we're going to pummel our Docker Swarm of 15 nodes with 1 million requests and 75 threads, and just let that run for a little bit. That'll create some nice traffic on our site so we can watch it happen. Okay, so back over here in my FusionReactor Cloud dashboard, we can see that there are 15 happy servers out there in the ether that have all phoned home and they've registered themselves with the dashboard. So we can see stats on each one of these. We can tell that some of these are all processing 20 to 30 requests per second on each server. The numbers vary based on the load balance and the algorithms. Here's some that are doing 50 requests a second. These times do take a little bit to update unless you put it into live server mode. So if I click this little green icon, I can say, okay, give me live data on this guy right here. And then we get real up to date, kind of like every second, right? But otherwise, if you're not in live mode, expect these to be, at least a minute behind, which is fine, just for sort of aggregate times. And then up here at the top, our group has sort of total times. So across the entire group of servers, we can see my CPU usage on average is actually very low. That's sort of a boring graph. Let's look at the number of requests. You can see I started a test and then paused it and started it up again. So on average, each of my swarm nodes are processing about 42 requests a second. This is not an aggregate number from what I can tell. This is an average across the servers. So each server itself is doing about that much. And we can come in and also see sort of request times. So you can set up alerts in here, and I won't even get into that. You can set up a whole series of notifications and checks and things. Not there. Here we go, under alerting. So you can have the dashboard automatically email you whenever you have certain servers that are, part of certain groups that are misbehaving. So you kind of have aggregate reporting as opposed to just having the reporting you have with a typical FusionReactor license. And then what I really like here is under applications. So this application is in like Cold Fusion application. So in my application.cfc for my test app, I actually named it FR Cloud, and that's what you see pulling up. In fact, if I was to go to one of these servers and say view requests and recent request, so you can see here's all this load testing coming through here. You can see here the actual application name that is picking up. Is FR Cloud. So over here in the application tab, regardless of the number of servers, this is spread across. This is all the different Cold Fusion applications that show up here, and this is actually pretty cool because this gives you some aggregate information. Let's see, get this to refresh. It'll tell me this application is getting a throughput of 20 requests per minute. Actually seems low. I think it just hasn't updated. Average response time, 31 milliseconds. Maximum response time, number of errors. Okay, see, updated 3 minutes ago. Oh, here we go. There's my refresh button. Let's see here. Let's change my current time frame and refresh it. There we go. This is much more like it. Oh, you also see another application from some of my earlier testing just popped in. Okay, so 419 requests per minute. That's a bit more like it, of course, across this application. We can click on it, and they've got just oodles of information in here, graphs on what the requests are doing, recent requests, and this is pretty cool because it's aggregate across all the servers. So this is where you want to be at with cloud. You don't think of your application as being 4 servers or 3 servers or 5 servers. It's just a cluster of some number of servers. Who knows? Who cares? It'll probably change tomorrow. But you can kind of just see it at an application level. What is my code doing in my FR Cloud application, and not have to worry yourself about how many servers is my application currently running on right now. You don't care. It's just all aggregated here together. So there's a lot more stuff in here, but I don't want to go into too much more detail. Just real quickly, go ahead and shut down this Apache Bench. I didn't quite make it all 1 million requests. Looks like Apache Bench was seeing about 1,000 requests a second, which is pretty cool coming across my my cloud. And then if I come in here in Portainer just to show, and let's say I say, scale back my service to just 3 nodes, turn those suckers off, so it's going to get rid of what, 12 containers should disappear. Wait a second and scroll down here in Portainer, we can see all these are gone but just 3, and in theory within a few seconds if we come back over to FusionReactor Cloud and refresh, oh nice and fast. So FusionReactor Cloud has already noticed that 12 servers fell off the internet, and it's just updated the dashboard, so here's the current 3 servers. And of course, with the magic of Docker Swarm, your users never even know a difference. These things come and go, and there's no blips with your users. There's no, manually updating firewalls. So this is FusionReactor Cloud. It's pretty cool. It's pretty fun to play with, and you can get a trial if you go to their website, the FusionReactor Cloud website. To get here, go to fusion-reactor.com. Hover over features and click FusionReactor Cloud. That's how you get to this page right here. So you can play around with this. The pricing model is actually pretty cool. You pay a base price for X number of servers, and then on top of that, it just expands automatically. You have an hourly rate per server that you pay that's billed by the minute. So if you have 50 servers one day, you pay for 50 servers. If you have 10 servers the next day, you only pay for 10 servers. It's a real nice cloud-based licensing model that FusionReactor has for this. So that's it, guys. Give this a try. It's really easy to do with the CommandBox Docker image that Ortus has in conjunction with the CommandBox FusionReactor module. So you guys have a great one, and I'll see you next time.